Greetings folks and welcome to the Electromaker Show. This is your midweek roundup of all things maker and embedded and lovely. Now, we are kicking off 2023 with, well, a bit of an apology really. As someone pointed out in the comments of last week's video, we talked about the December Electromakers of the month and we hadn't talked about the November ones, and there was a very simple reason for that. As some of you who watch the show or follow our social media may have picked up, I, along with pretty much my entire family, was very sick for a lot of December. Nothing horrifically serious, but enough to keep me away from work while I was sick and was various doctors and even hospital visits. However, today we're going to remedy that. We're looking at the Electromaker of the Month November winners just 1 week after the December winners, along with a bunch of really interesting new things. We're looking at a couple of Kickstarters today, along with announcing the winner of the Inkplate 2 competition. So if you entered that, you're going to want to keep an eye on this episode. And while we're talking about eInk displays, there's a rather interesting hack for those ones that you're starting to see all over shops all over the world right now. So with all that to get through, let's get on with the show. Up first this week, we're looking at the Makers Fun Duck YouTube channel, which is a channel that's relatively new to me, but has a bunch of wonderful hardware hacking and general maker projects on it already. However, their most recent video really caught my eye, as it's talking about how to reverse engineer the e-ink displays you're starting to see all over shops, which are being used as price tags. Now, there are a number of advantages of using these e-ink displays in commerce. I understand where they're being replaced. You can simply scan a barcode for an item, and you can get these things to update via numerous means. There are some that work via infrared, I believe. There are some that work via different protocols. But the things themselves are widely available. You can buy them online, and I'm pretty sure, as time goes by, you're going to find huge swathes of these things dumped outside shops when they upgrade them or change them, or maybe just when shops close down. And that's what this video is all about. It is a pretty thorough run through of what they are and where you can get them and how you can work with them. As I said, this is a channel that's completely new to me. This is the first video I've seen from them, but they have such a high quality way of talking about things. That's a terrible way of putting it. They explain things very clearly. They go through exactly what they're working with, and as you're seeing, he's showing you a full teardown of how these things work and then how you can re-engineer them and hack them and put your own projects on them. So, for example, here is a web server that is being used to update the time on one of these tags. This is much later in the video. This is after talking about how you make connections and how you can upload custom firmware to it. It really does go into quite a lot of details. There is also a blog for this. The blog itself is in Chinese, but as it says here, it auto-translate works absolutely fine. And the blog goes into a little more detail as well. But yes, this is a fantastic project from a channel that I wasn't aware of before. And hacking these new devices that are going to be appearing in the wild is a really interesting thing to me, because there are a huge amount of consumer electronics out there which are going to be used in those places where they are not as needed or used as other things. A lot of these price tags are going to end up in the bin in a lot of places as soon as that shop closes down or when they upgrade them or something like that. And I'm sure we're going to, if we're smart about it, ends up with huge swathes of these things and wonder what to do with them. Well, this might be a good one to bookmark to see how you can start uploading your own custom firmware to them. Up next, we are looking at the Electromaker of the Month November winners. Now, as I said at the start of this show, we should have talked about this already. It was one of those things that just completely went on the back burner when I was a bit too busy. But one of the winners of the Electromaker of the Month in November, because the judges have already contacted them to say they won, very politely sent me a message kind of saying, would it be okay if you talked about them on the show like you have everyone else's? And yes, absolutely, of course. And apologies that this is a little bit delayed. However, here we are. The blog post is ready and we are able to look at the 3 winners of Electromaker of the Month for last November. And yes, November was an amazing month for Electromaker of the Month. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into these projects. Now, the winning project was LOTP Robot Dog version 2. Now, this is from Luminous Reductor. And this is an astonishing project because this is essentially reverse engineering or just designing from scratch, I guess, a robot dog in the sort of vein of the Boston Dynamics dog, completely from scratch. And this video, it is a 5-minute long video, so I can't really go through the whole thing right now, but it is what it says on the tin. This is 7 months of development condensed into a 5-minute video, showing them designing all the parts, working in various different ways to try and make it work and, present it and all this kind of stuff. And this screenshot here, actually, if I stop it, is a really good way of seeing what is going on here. Because one of the things that the builder, Luminous Reductor, wanted to avoid is having this be an all-in-one unit, where if one thing fails, the entire thing has to be fixed, or the entire thing has to be treated as one unit. What this is here is a bunch of little modular cradles holding everything from the Teensy 3.5 that runs it to the different forms of sensors and onboard things that are required to make this robot dog tick. Now, I'd highly recommend clicking through to the project page and taking a look at what the maker, Luminous Reductor, has written about this project, because it is amazing. One of the things our judges look for in any of these projects is really good documentation. After all, the only thing that we have on the Electromaker website of these projects is the documentation from the makers. And this is one of those times where the project itself is incredible and the documentation is also incredible. This is something that's been worked on for a very long time, documented very well, and is presented very well also. So it talks about all the different things, all the different aims for the project. As I mentioned before, modularity was one of them. It also talks about, coming up with custom controllers in order to actually make the dog work. Pretty much every element of this dog is completely custom, completely home designed, and completely printed. You could basically use these designs to print this dog at home. I believe Luminous uses a large-ish 3D printer, but other than that, everything else is something that's completely accessible to all of us. It's just that they've put in the work. But yes, everything here is shared, including the custom kinematics and inverse kinematics calculations that they made for this particular robot to make it work. And I could talk about this thing all day. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to do so. However, this is a very deserved first place winner of Electromaker of the Month. And if you would like to find out how to build your own project, not your own project, sorry, your own robot dog, this is the project page to come to. And also, one final thing. These videos are absolutely fantastic and absolutely worth watching. But yes, congratulations, Luminous. You are very much the deserved winner of the Electromaker of the Month this month. And as the first prize winner, you are winning a whole batch of Nordic semiconductor gear. So I wonder if there's going to be a Bluetooth low energy modular card added to the dog at some point in the future, maybe. Or yeah, who knows. But congratulations. Now, second place, in many ways, was completely different to first place in that, as you can see from the video preview here, this is something that's sort of held together with cardboard and bits of tape and all this kind of stuff, but the project itself is incredibly complex and just focuses on one singular idea, and that is having a wrist-mounted device that can use a Edge AI, a neural network which works on the edge, on the hardware, which is a Sony SpreeSense board in this particular instance, to identify plants on the go. And it also has a little sting in the tail, which I really like. So heading over to its project page, what we have here essentially is, if I play the video for just a moment, you can see this on the arm of the maker. Now, again, don't be fooled by the cardboard and the tape. This is an incredible prototype. It's using an Edge AI camera in order to determine whether something is poison ivy or not. And the sting in the tail I talked about before is a pump under the hand, as you can see just here, which will spray plant killer on poison ivy. And there's a real reason behind this as well. This maker, who goes by the name of Donuts or Else, which is a name I highly resonate with, made this because, well, firstly, their partner likes to go out and collect mushrooms. And of course, wild mushroom collection is something that you don't want to get wrong. And the idea behind this is in the long term, his wife will be able to go out and use this thing to identify whether a mushroom is safe to eat or not. At this particular stage, the project is not something that you would want to build yourself to try and do that, because, yeah, you want to be very, very sure of these things. But the idea behind it and the prototype works. And what made our judges very happy about this particular one is just the fact that it goes through in great detail how the network was trained and the kind of goods and the bad side as to how to get it all going. And also just the fact that it uses the Sony SpreeSense board, which one was it? I've forgotten. The Sony Network Console. I'm not actually sure which SpreeSense board it is. I could have sworn I saw it at some point when I was looking at this project, but either way, it's a Sony SpreeSense development board, and they're using the Sony Neural Networking Console, which is, again, something that I am not familiar with, haven't played with it before, but yeah, something to look into in a future show, perhaps. Anyhow, this was our second prize winner for this month, and before we talk about what the second prize winner wins, let's talk about the third prize winner, because they also win the same prize, and that is a digital distance meter using hexabits. Now, hexabits is a modular set of, well, modules that work with the STM32 chip, which is obviously one of the most popular MCUs in the world. And it's sort of interesting because these are modules that are designed to clip together and work in a very similar kind of way to Arduino. But this is working with the STM32 IDE, which is the same IDE that you use for all STM32 programming, which is really interesting because it allows you to prototype things. And the hardware side is quite easy, but it's getting you used to the STM32 and the ST microelectronics way of working, which is kind of interesting. I haven't thought of any other thing that works quite like this before. And of course, what with them being hexabits, they're all hexagonal units. If I can show you them here, these are all different hexagonal units which are designed to clip together and work doing different things. Anyway, having talked about hexabits and STM32, what does this thing actually do? Well, it is a distance measurement unit. What you're seeing here is very similar to the kind of things you see in those little devices that you can buy for measuring distance using a laser. Remaking hardware projects of things that already exist is a fantastic way of working out how those things work and how many things in the modern day world work. And yeah, the fact that this is just my kind of project, which is it's completely functional, it uses a bunch of stuff, but yeah, again, it's inside a box, taped together, it doesn't have to look good, it just has to work. This is a learning experience. And once again, our judges were impressed with the level of detail that is went into when it was talking about how this all works, including a huge amount of different code examples, and there's even a YouTube video of the project somewhere down here as well, which is worth a watch. So that was our third prize for November Electromaker of the month. Now, second and third place win a pile of swag. That is from us and from Nordic Semiconductor. So that includes the Electromaker t-shirt I'm usually wearing. I'm wearing the hoodie today. Unfortunately, nobody will be getting one of those because I have the only Electromaker hoodie in existence, simply because this attic gets so very cold. However, you will be getting an awesome Electromaker t-shirt and a bunch of other things from us, and all of this stuff from Nordic Semiconductor. Now, I usually skip over all the rest of this stuff because I'm so excited about the dongle, but you do get a bunch of stickers, you get a mug, you get this cable, but the thing that always makes me super excited is this NRF 52840 dongle. This is a Bluetooth low energy dongle which, when plugged into any USB port, will allow you to start developing Bluetooth low energy devices, programs, ideas. It's a fantastic thing to have. So yes, that is what the second and third prize winners win. One thing I may have forgotten to mention earlier is that the winner, as well as winning this massive pile of Nordic Semiconductor gear, wins a $50 Amazon gift voucher. Now, Electromaker of the Month ran for the entirety of last year and is going to continue to run for the entirety of this year, with the exception of this month. I have been told by the powers that be that there's going to be some small changes to the way the prizes are given out, and while they work that out, we're going to be taking a break for just this 1 month. But the wait will be worth it, because from what I hear, there's going to be some quite exciting changes to the prizes and the kind of prizes that you can get from this particular competition, and I'm really looking forward to finding out what those are, because I get just as excited about prizes as the people who are going to win them, I think. But yes, that was our winners of Electromaker of the Month for November. Apologies that was a little bit delayed, but congratulations to everyone who won prizes, and thank you to everyone who puts projects up on the Electromaker site. I say it often, so much that I feel like a bit of a stuck record, but it really is my favourite part of being part of Electromaker. Up next, we're going to take a quick look at something I saw on the Arduino blog. And it's a very simple idea, but it's such a good idea. And I love it when things like this come together, because I could explain it to you in one sentence, but I'd rather show you. This is what happens if you don't have a flex sensor and you need a flex sensor. Well, you just make your own using an LDR. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, this tube attached to this glove has an LED at one end and an LDR at the other. And when you bend your finger, the amount of light that can fit through this gap gets lower and lower, so you get an approximation to the way a flex sensor works. Now, you might not need the full resolution of a flex sensor for your project. In fact, most projects probably don't. And it's an amazingly simple hack, but not one that I thought of. This is one that was created by Gord Payne. This is one of Teachers Gord Payne's students who wanted to create a low-cost alternative. I apologize. When I first read this through, I thought it was Gord Payne's invention. However, it is not. If there is a write-up link, here we go, Payne's Hackaday.io write-up. So the actual project itself is on Hackaday.io. I will link this Arduino blog because that's where I read it. However, if you'd like to know more about it, you can find this here. This is a student at Gord Payne's High School, a student whose name I hope to find out one day because I'd like to congratulate them by name. What a wonderful idea. If you are enjoying the Electromaker Show, it would mean a lot to us if you could scroll down to under this video and click the like button. I know a lot of YouTubers ask for likes, but it really does make a difference. It makes it far more likely that YouTube will recommend the show to other people who watch this kind of stuff. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. It doesn't change your experience on YouTube all that much, although it will add us to your subscriptions tab on the side. And that's what this personalized thing here means. However, if you do click this little drop-down menu and click all, you will get a notification in the top corner where it says notifications here whenever a show goes live. And in fact, as this alternative channel I have is subscribed, you will see that I made a bit of a mistake last week's show and uploaded the show with its preliminary title before quickly changing it. Although if you have notifications on, you will get to see every time I make that mistake. However, a far more direct way that you can support this show is by shopping at the Electromaker Shop. If you head to electromaker.io/shop or just click on the shop button right here, it will take you to a place where you can buy things from all of these names you see scrolling across the top of the screen right now. Everything from Raspberry Pi through to things from Adafruit, Pimoroni, Arduino, Beagleboard. There's a bunch of things there. Now, if you do buy stuff from our shop, it directly supports the show. If you're new here, you may not realize our YouTube show is directly funded by our shop. We don't have adverts on our videos, for example. We don't have a Patreon. We don't do any of the normal money-making ways that YouTube shows work. We just have a shop. So if you do enjoy the show, continue looking at our site next time you want to start a project or buy a bunch of hardware in for your job if you're a hardware engineer. It will help us out a lot. Now, moving on to funding website things, although we're combining funding website things with a prize giveaway this week, because as many of you know, if you've been watching the show for a while, this has been something we've been planning to give away for a while. This is an Inkplate Mark II. Now, I actually was lucky enough to get my hands on an early version of this while the Kickstarter was still up and running, but the Kickstarter is now over. And as you could see, if my face wasn't in the way, they managed to get it backed with ease. They got $55,000 worth of backing, and this is now something that you can order. And as one of the things that I thought would be a fun thing to do would be to give one of these away as the Kickstarter ended. But like many things that have happened recently at Electromaker that had to be put on the back burner, as when the Kickstarter ended, I was in bed with the flu. So here we are. We have picked a prize winner for the Inkplate 2, but just before we announce them, I just want to give you the option here that you can also head to the description of this video and head to the Inkplate Kickstarter, and you can find out all the different ways you can now buy them. If you click through to here, you can get one by ordering it directly from them. So yes, I just wanted to give that option, but without any further ado, let's reveal the winner of this Inkplate 2 tiny little ePaper display. Hey folks, Future Ian here. I recorded this section initially once and it was way too long and way too waffly, and in my attempt to make it shorter and a bit more concise, I missed out some essential details about Inkplate 2 and the Inkplate project in general. So as to not do them dirty, just very quickly now, I refer to this as a little ePaper screen throughout this section, but really it's a lot more than that. It's a little ePaper screen with an ESP32 module on the back. They also do a version that has a built-in battery, and as you can see, it has a nice little 3D printed case as well. I've had various Inkplate products come through my hands in the time I've been doing the Electromaker Show, and they really are a lot of fun. And so yeah, I felt compelled to add this in. So I didn't do them dirty by just saying that they were an ePaper manufacturer. They make full development kits with ePaper built into them. And there aren't that many people doing things quite the same way that they are right now. And they're and they seem like lovely folks as well, which shouldn't particularly matter, but yeah. Anyway, this is Future Ian signing off. And the winner this time, it's actually quite interesting. I was somewhat confused when I saw Brian C's name show up when it said that it was the Inkplate winner, because I came to look through the videos to find Brian C's comment, and I saw that his comment on this video doesn't actually have the Inkplate hashtag in it. And that is because the lovely fella that he is, he mentioned to Laszlo Horvath that he'd forgot to put the Inkplate 2 tag in his entry to the thing. And in short, Laszlo is the one who has won. So congratulations, Laszlo Horvath. We will be in touch with you as to how we can send this wonderful little Inkplate 2 to you. But thank you so much, Brian C, for just being a generally lovely human being. That's a very nice thing that you did. And yeah, it was slightly confusing to unpick exactly who won this contest. But yeah, thank you for being so kind. Congratulations, Laszlo. We'll be in touch with you as to how we can get this thing out to you. Now, staying on Kickstarter, we're moving over to this Raspberry Pi Breakout Breadboard and prototyping kit. Now, this is not the first prototyping kit I've seen like this on Kickstarter. In fact, it's not even the first I've seen it this year. But this one I thought was a little bit special and was worth a little attention. Now, it's already passed its goal. It had a rather modest goal of just under 1,000 euros to get made. And this is clearly made by someone who has been making their own kits for working with Raspberry Pi for a while and decided to branch out and actually share this with others. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail with this. This is one of the ones where I'm going to just say the link to this one is in the description, and the Kickstarter page is well worth a read. This has been very well thought out. But in very short, there is a Breakout kit mainboard which sits upon your Raspberry Pi and it gives you access to all of the pins and also gives you various other things like a little proto board in the middle here and various other pins. If you see the image of it here and then look at this one down here, this gives you more of an idea about how this thing will all fit together. However, it doesn't stop there. This is just one of the various Breakout boards which are designed to sit all on top of each other. So this is the first one. However, if you look at the next one, this is one which has some very familiar footing for different SMD components. So yeah, the idea for this is it has, let's have a look, it has one slot for an SOT 23 to 5, 4 slots for SO3 23 to 3, and if you check it down once again, you will see there's yet another one. So, sorry, this is that board sat on top of the original board, so we're stacking higher. Add-on card 2 instead has these SMD footprints again for various popular microcontrollers. Now I thought this was a really interesting idea because that means you can buy whatever microcontroller you're wanting to work with and sit it on top of your Pi and have it essentially as a stack with the programming computer underneath and the microcontroller on top. It could be a full development kit that fits in a tiny little desk space right in front of you, and that could be your entire development environment. Now, there's a million ways that you can develop with MCUs, I get that, but this just grabbed me as a really neat idea. So yeah, here's the same thing. Here's that original Breakout, and as you see, it's very cleverly designed, so you have these ports on the side which allow you to still access the original Raspberry Pi pins and everything underneath, and then you can have all of this stuff on top with various other different bits of real estate. There's a lot to this which just strikes me as being very simple but very well thought out. I may have said that a few times already in this particular section. Apologies if I have. So, as I said, this has already made its target, but if you would still like to pledge, there's still, I don't know how many days, still another 18 days on this. And if you spend $24, you get the main Breakout board, the add-on board 1 and 2, along with all the required interconnectors. And if you pledge 40, then you get 2 of the same kit. So, if this is something that you would be interested in, please do have a look in the comments and the video description. There'll be a link to this Kickstarter page. And if you do decide to buy one for your Raspberry Pi, do let me know. I'd be very interested to see any projects that come together using this kit, because I do like well thought out prototyping kits. And to me, to my untrained eyes, this looks like one. And yeah, I'm very tempted to get a hold of one myself because I have, amazingly, given the stock crisis, I have one Raspberry Pi sitting back there that isn't really doing anything right now. And I do wonder whether it might be a fun time to get into SMT soldering with microcontrollers using the Raspberry Pi as the host computer for programming them. Interesting. We are going to close out the show by talking about a couple of new products, starting with MyCobot. Now, that's a name that some of you might be familiar with, because we featured them on Electromaker before. We reviewed their Pi-powered robotic arm some time ago and gave it away. And now they are back with a slightly different form of robot arm. Now, we're on the always wonderful CNX software for this, and Ultra Arm P340 is an Arduino-based robotic arm which can draw, engrave, and grab. And the title kind of says it all. The idea here is that this is a little bit more focused than just a general-purpose educational robotic arm. That's definitely what this is. It's following the same kind of rules that MyCobot, I believe the company's called Elephant Robotics. I always call them MyCobot because the MyCobot was the name of the robot that I reviewed from them. Elephant Robotics have always sort of had an educational bent to their cheaper robots. Their larger industrial robots, of course, are a slightly different matter. But yes, we reviewed the MyCobot Pi, as did CNX software. But this is the new one. This is the Ultra Arm, which is an Arduino-powered machine. It has the ATmega 2560 8-bit microcontroller in it, which I don't actually know which one that powers. If that's the Mega it powers, the Arduino Mega. Either way, it doesn't particularly matter. It is Arduino compatible. There isn't a huge amount of information about it at this stage. I did have a little dig around in the documentation, and it looks kind of similar to the way that the other Elephant Robot ones have worked, in that they have their MyBlockly way of doing it, which is the block-based, no-code way of working. But this is something which, because of the nature of this robot, it's Arduino-powered, you will need a separate computer to attach to it. What made the Pi one so interesting is that it was all one unit. You could just attach a screen to it, and a keyboard and a mouse to it, and then just you're away to the races. You can use it as its own computer. This one it requires another computer to attach to it, which makes me think that behind the scenes, ultimately, this is an Arduino running a Fermata sketch, some kind of a Fermata sketch, and just taking direct serial commands from a computer. And they've set up MyStudio to work with that, along with Lubin G-code generator, which is something I'm not familiar with. I don't know anything about this one. However, SnapMaker Lubin. Okay, SnapMaker is somewhat familiar, but that's for another day. And then MyBlockly is another visual programming language that generates Python code. And interestingly, it has Python scripts directly. Now, when I was playing with the Pi version of one of the Elephant Robotics robots, this is what I found to be by far the best way of working with it. They have a Python library which allows you to move the robot in various ways. It does a lot of the thinking for for you, so you don't have to break out the calculator and come up with your own inverse kinematics formulas like Luminous Reductor did for his robot dog. This is something that it makes it a lot easier. As I said, I had a little poke around on this documentation website. You might want to as well if you were interested in getting a hold of the robot. And as it says down here, they're taking pre-orders for the robot arm, which starts at $649 for the standard kit. They updated it saying there's a coupon of Ultra 20 should give you a further 20% off that. And the original Raspberry Pi robot currently goes for $800. They're just putting that in there for reference to give you some idea as to the pricing of both of these robots. Having had my hands on the MicroBot Pi and seeing this one, I don't really have an opinion as to what value is. The fact that they have, what the difference in value is, sorry. The fact that they seem to have really come up with specific ideas for how you can work with this thing as, either a laser burner or a gripper that can write, or, just a general grabber, makes me think that it might be a little more focused than the MicroBot Pi, but that may be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're looking for. However, it's a very interesting thing. I'm hoping that we can get in touch with Elephant Robotics and see if we can get an actual one here to feature on the show, because who doesn't love a good robot arm? And finally today there is a new Raspberry Pi camera module in town. This is the camera module version 3, and it comes with a number of advantages when you look at it compared to the older ones. Now this is a thorough blog post that goes through every single thing that you would need to know, says it in a more concise way that I can on the show. So once again, I'm going to just say, go and read this. It is very much worth your time. It goes through, it covers pretty much every question you might have about the new release. But in very brief, there is a new camera module. It is a camera module Mark III. There is an infrared version of it and a normal version of it. And the big feature of this one is that it has an actual working autofocus that is completely on the edge, does it by itself. Thankfully, this is all part of the sensor that they use. The old cameras used Sony sensors. This one does, but it uses a fancier one, the IMX219. So it gives an 8.1 megapixel array of this and that, and there's another one which gives 11.9 megapixels. I believe that's the wide angle one. And if you want to see the difference between those two things, well, here you are. Here's the normal one, and here is the wide angle one. The two camera modules in the same place, just one is a wide angle and one isn't. Now, there is a video showing off the autofocus. If you do want to take a look at that, it does work pretty snappily. It's kind of fast. Like that. It's kind of cool. And there's one other thing in this particular blog post which is worth a look. If you are someone who likes the high quality camera module, for a long time people have been hacking their own M12 mounts onto the Raspberry Pi high quality camera module so that they can change lenses out and things like that. They are now selling them with native mounts for $50. I can't remember if that's the price of a camera module anyway, if that's a massive price hike or not. I haven't actually checked that before doing the show. I probably should have done. Either way, being able to get a native M12 camera mount is going to be very useful for those that use them. I know that there are a lot of people that like being able to change out the lenses on the high quality Raspberry Pi camera, as it allows them to do kind of quite fancy stuff within software to make capturing, especially in things like animation. I know one animator who kind of switched over pretty much exclusively to using Raspberry Pi high quality cameras, because with the right lighting, they say it gives them the most control. I know nothing about that world. However, I just thought I'd mention that because it's in the blog post as well. If you would like to know more about it, and of course join in the lively discussion that always happens under these Raspberry Pi blogs, you can head to the link in the description of this video where it will be linked. That has been our show for this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for all of the support you continue to show us, whether that's by clicking like on this YouTube video or subscribing to our channel, all of that stuff, or buying stuff in the Electromaker shop, which directly financially supports this show. If you are new here, feel free to say hello in the comment section below and let us know what you're working on. Or even better, head to the Electromaker website and make a free account, and then you can post your projects there. After all, every month we give away prizes for the best projects picked by a panel of judges on our website, so it can't really hurt to do it, and I do love reading the projects. In fact, the community projects on Electromaker might just be my favorite part of this whole shebang. Anyway, that is the show for this week. I wish you a fun, safe, and creative week, and I'll chat to you soon.